Hello and welcome back to the Rage Racing YouTube channel. Today we're going to do an experiment. How much horsepower does the stock catalytic converter cost you? So what we're working on today is a 2021 Harley-Davidson Road Glide. It's got the stock 114 M8 in it. It has stock head pipes with the stock catalytic converter. There is an aftermarket air cleaner, R&S, and a set of Reinhardt 4.5-inch slip-on exhausts. Kind of the same thing most of you might have out there as far as beginner performance products. So how much power does that cat actually soak up? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out those head pipes with the stock catalytic converter, and we're going to install these Khrome Werks head pipes, which uses the stock slip-on mufflers. The stock crossover pipe goes through there and has no cat. It's hard to see in there, but it is empty. Now this Khrome Werks head pipe fits underneath your stock heat shields, so it appears completely stock. Now these pipes might flow a little bit more than the stock head pipes, but the main difference is the catalytic converter is missing. So we're going to do an A to B power comparison and see where we're at. So the bike is already warmed up. I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to do a run. I'll swap out the pipe, do another run after tuning, of course, and we'll see what our horsepower numbers are. We have a peak torque of 108.71 foot-pounds of torque at about 3,100 RPM, and a peak of 78.12 horsepower at about 4,750 RPM. Okay, we have the new exhaust pipe installed. Catalytic converter has been eliminated. We're hiding underneath the stock heat shields. Let's see how this bike runs now. So what are the results of our test? Well, the blue and red lines are the torque and horsepower curves for the Khrome Werks exhaust that eliminates the catalytic converter. The gray lines are the torque and horsepower curves of our test before we put on that headpipe. The only difference we made was just the headpipe, the Khrome Werks headpipe, eliminating the catalytic converter. So we went from 108.71 foot-pounds of torque to 111.64 foot-pounds of torque. So pretty much about 3 foot-pounds of torque. And we went from 78.12 horsepower to 82.38 horsepower. So essentially 4 horsepower. So 3 foot-pounds of torque and 4 horsepower more. Not a big difference. We did extend the rev limiter, as you can see, where it extends higher on the top end, and now we rev to just a bit past 6,000, where the stock rev limiter kicked in at about 5,600 or so. So not a big difference, but we do get a little bit of an increase from taking out the cat. Now, you might have expected more. You might have expected that the catalytic converter was going to be more of a restriction and we'd gain more horsepower by removing it. Now we got some, about 3 foot-pounds, 4 horsepower. But the catalytic converter is not the restriction point on these M8 Harleys. The real restriction point is under here, the camshaft. The stock camshaft in these bikes are absolutely horrible. Probably made for emissions and all sorts of reasons like that, but these stock camshafts are garbage. The stock M8 cylinder head flows a bunch of air. The throttle body's not bad. Injectors are good. Even the exhaust isn't bad, but the camshaft is terrible. So the next step would be to change the camshaft. Now with a camshaft change, you would get a much larger difference between a cat versus no cat system. But with the stock cam, that's the restriction point on these M8 Harleys.